What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 169 are open. This week on the show, we're talking about Nintendo's busy lawyers, busy going about suing people and bringing up disputes with people. Oh. God. There are a bunch of mean people over there.
Oh, legalities.
Yes. Some huge Capcom data breaches and much more. And to talk all about that is my best mate, it's Bryce the Wit.
Yeah, it's us in the live farm studio.
Yeah, so we're somewhere different today where we haven't recorded.
Oh my God, what a mess.
And it's a bit different today. It's a bit weird. I'll take a photo and put it on Twitter, I think, throughout the show just to show what we're working with. But we had a bit of change in weather today and it brought in the storm. We lost power. We came out to the farm to see if they had any power out there. They didn't. So we sat around talking and drinking a few Coca-Colas and getting out to shenanigans.
And we get a text message saying it's all back.
It's all back. So now we're in the spare bedroom at my parents' place.
Yeah.
So we're literally sitting on the ground with our microphones and these little tables. So sorry if there is a bit more of an echo or the sound quality is a bit less than usual.
Yeah.
Because of that reason.
Cutting our already short time already shorter. Like this whole thing. Like, my God. I just can't believe it. He's like, okay. So story time. Drew decided to get up and, go see what's going on or whatever, and walk around the house, doing something with himself. Anyway.
I'm doing something right.
And, we heard a thunderclap or two. We're like, oh yeah, And then Drew went and looked out the window and he's like, holy shit, what happened to the weather? Because it was sunshiny as all hell this morning.
Beautiful day.
It's an absolutely beautiful day. He's like, oh, it's gone all overcast and shit. And I said, yeah, well, it changes pretty quickly. And then comes back in and he goes, well, I hope we don't go without power. 30 seconds later, what happens?
The power goes out.
Power fucking goes out. So like, all right. So we tried a couple backup solutions. We're like, all right, farm. All right, let's go. So we come out here. Right. And we're like, well, the phone's ringing through, so there must be power. No, it's not. So we're like, all right, well, you know what? Have a Coca-Cola. Chill out. And then, we'll I suppose we'll just piss off after that. Yep, no worries. And then, now here we are, just as we're, almost considering leaving. Power comes back on.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know if we would have had a show this week, Bryce.
No, I don't think so.
It was very close to missing out on an episode, but here we are, talk about all the Nintendo things that happened this week. Mm-hmm. And I guess just before we get into the gaming side of things, it has been an interesting week just to be a South Australian.
Yes,
it has. A bit weird. Yeah. So for anyone that is outside of Australia and I guess hasn't heard this on their news, but we've basically gone into lockdown this week because coronavirus was found at a small pizza joint in Adelaide, but it was very quickly turned around again because it turned out that the coronavirus was not caught at that location. It was actually caught at another location in a hotel where people were self-quarantining.
Yeah, which we already, they already knew about it. It was like the Parafield cluster, they called it. It was one fella got it. He was working at a Medi hotel and also working part-time at a pizza joint. He passed it on to his family members, went to about 14 people or whatever, and it eventually grew to about, I think it's at 26 at the moment. And then another person from the same pizza joint that was talking to him was like, oh, well, I've got it. Turns out that he did actually get it from his co-worker. He was not a customer at the pizza joint like he had said to the authorities. And so they could link it all back to the one place. They thought that one guy was from a completely different source. And that was the reason we went into lockdown, because we had no contact tracing on him.
Yeah, so the whole state went into a lockdown for one guy's small Y.
Yeah.
And Chantel actually brought up that maybe the guy at the pizza joint, he was just being paid cash. So he didn't want to say that he actually worked there because he wasn't technically on the books. That could have been a reason why.
You know what? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So, you can, there's lots of reasons if the government's asking you questions, you're like, you know what? You don't need to know every little aspect of my life. You don't need to know that I'm being paid cash here and whatever.
No.
But maybe when it's these type of questions relating to maybe security of the state as far as a global pandemic goes.
Well, yeah, because shut down businesses and everything, and that's money lost. And
yeah, well, my partner, got shut down for all of this week, and she's just been sitting around, sort of twiddling her thumbs, sort of wondering what to do, and thinking about other jobs she can do in the meantime, because it was expected to be 2 weeks for gyms. So yeah, it's been a hell of a week, but it is funny how I was watching the news and they were interviewing people out and about because of the restrictions being lifted before the actual lockdown was finished. And there was people in the news saying, "Oh, thank God. I really hate being locked inside and that." And I'm just thinking, like, you know what, guys? It was a day and a half. And people in Victoria and like Melbourne especially, who have been locked down for months, just like, I couldn't even imagine what they would be thinking. Just like, oh, I felt it was a bit cringy, but
yeah.
It has impacted a lot of businesses and that pretty negatively just around our area alone. So shout outs to, everyone who's been affected and
support local businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something that gets thrown a lot around here. A lot of people say it, and if any time is true, it's especially now. These few days off, they cost businesses a lot of money, and that's not a good thing. So. Best to support them and get them back on their feet, and whether it be like your local supermarket that's independently owned, or your pub, or the flower shop, or something like that. If you've got the money to spare, support.
Absolutely. So Bryce, moving on to Nintendo news, we got a truck ton of stuff to go through. We'll go through it as efficiently as we can. Because we've been cut short a bit of time thanks to
about an hour,
thanks to power outages. But the biggest release of the month, a big title we've been waiting for a few months now. So Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity came out a couple of days ago. At the time of recording, came out Friday. We're recording this on Sunday.
Yes.
I haven't had an opportunity to play it yet because I've been doing a couple of other things and whatever type of thing. But I think. Our main content for that game will be our spoiler cast when we get around to finishing it and putting all our thoughts and everything about the story and all of that into one episode. So expect that maybe midway December sometime.
Yep.
But Bryce, you played the demo, and I don't know if you got to play a bit of the full game itself.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So what are your sort of very beginning thoughts of the game?
If I can play me for every friggin' level I do, I'll play me for every friggin' level.
You like Mifa?
Mifa's fun, yeah. It's like it was the same thing with Ruto as well in the original Hyrule Warriors, where they just make the Zoras like really fast and floaty, which is like, I don't know, just something about it's really good. So yeah, definitely my favorite character, I reckon. I obviously haven't played all of them yet. I've only done the Zora part of the story, but to be completely honest with you, it just fits my aesthetic personally. Yeah. So I'm kind of just like, all right, I think I know what I'm focusing on when it comes to this game. So I'll probably just stick with that. And but no, it was nice actually. The first little romp that I did, I feel like it did a bit more for me than what the demo did. So just I guess light spoilers, not anything too big for Mifa's little part there. It is more or less just Zora's domain's coming under attack, and Sidon's gone out on his own, and you're like, oh god, he's gone. And at this point, obviously Sidon's a baby, so you're kind of like, yeah. Anyway, and it did feel like there was a little bit more care and love put into the cutscenes than before there, and the interactions and stuff like that. I feel like it was probably a little bit better handled. I'd like to see where it goes going forward, because obviously, everything changes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole game's fixed for me yet, but it was definitely a positive step forward than it was in the demo, which is good.
Yeah, because you're feeling like the story was being rushed and characters weren't being explored quite enough to what you were expecting. So that's good to hear, because when you said that in your episode a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh no, because that's exactly what I want from it. Like, to be honest, I'd be more than happy just to sit down and watch like a Twitch stream of this game and just get the story and watch it. Because I'm hoping that the gameplay will win me over when I do play it.
It's good.
It looks fun. Like when the people are just like, going flat out, just like going ham on these like big enemies. It's like, wow, that actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
There's some like gameplay clips I've seen where it's just like, what is actually happening?
Yeah.
It's like 3 guardians and
there is tactile gameplay as well too about it, which makes it all the more interesting as well. Like every character can use runes, and runes are used to counter specific like enemy attacks. You've still got Flurry Rush if you can pull it off effectively. It's harder to pull off than it is in Breath of the Wild, but it is still possible, and there's huge benefits to it. But with the runes still being centric to how the game sort of operates in terms of like what you can do to enemies, or whatever. In Breath of the Wild, you might stuff around with magnesis or bombs to kill enemies. It's the same here, but you can use them to like interrupt their big attacks and put them into stun mode and knock them down and all that stuff. And like that's still present here. It feels a lot more fleshed out than your typical Musou game from Koei, which is good. And I feel like Dynasty Warriors, which is obviously their main Musou, I feel like it's always been very stagnant in what it displays. It doesn't do any particularly complicated mechanics or what have you. And even Hyrule Warriors didn't really either. But I feel like going forward, they're trying to sort of, especially with this, I'm not sure about Scramble. I'm hoping Scramble's sort of the same thing, where it has its own little mechanics with personas and all that stuff. But obviously I haven't had the opportunity to play that yet. It's not out in English. I'm not going to import it. But in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, it's really well thought out to sort of keep the idea of Breath of the Wild in mind. So, I think it's pretty good overall, and there's depth to it, and I think it's going to be a pretty good experience going forward. So, just hopefully it keeps up them story pacings, and that's what it needs to do.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting into it, and I'm sure by the time this podcast actually comes out, I would have spent a few hours with it anyway.
Yeah,
So,
like I said, I reckon you'll enjoy it. It just takes a little bit of adjustment, but you'll get there.
Yeah. So I guess yesterday, all I pretty much played was Pokemon Go. There was a community day that featured Magmar as a shiny, and I'm like, I didn't even know about it until probably like the last 3 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a community day, because I think there was a Electabuzz community day maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, and someone in our Discord, I think it was Meta, actually said, hey, did anybody actually participate in this? I'm like,
didn't know it was on.
I completely forgot about it. I've been sort of out of the loop. So yeah, just a pretty standard community day. I ended up with 4 shiny Magmar. My second one was shiny. I'm like, wow, my luck's really good. Then like 100 later, I still didn't have one more. I'm like, okay, well, that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't bother with it personally. I saw it and I was like, that's nice, but we're still in lockdown. And to be honest, like on the community day, I might go out for an hour and sit at the Pokestops or something and just absolutely smash them and see, like, sort of change my luck. But my only option outside of that is incense. And to be honest, I was doing other things that day and really did not want to just sit there and wait for a Magmar every minute to pop up.
No.
So I'm like, yeah, no, I'll just pass for now. I'm not overly interested.
Yeah, see, I was just doing it. I had my iPad up and I was just throwing a Pokeball here and there, and I was actually playing a game called Hot Shot Racing, which came out in September, and I was playing. I found out about it because it's on Xbox Game Pass, but it's on PS4 and Switch and PC as well. And it's just it's basically like a throwback to like the old arcade races from the 90s, like Daytona and all that type of thing.
Daytona, yep.
And like, I really love those types of games, and you only sort of play them like every now and again when you feel like, spending $2 and sitting down on the machine and playing it like that. But this was like a really well done arcade racer, and it's got like multiple characters, multiple modes. And I was just basically going through the GP in the arcade mode, just going through the Xbox Live achievements, just like chipping them off, doing silly little things. There was an achievement for doing a reverse over the the finish line in first place. And but the thing is with this game, like the rubber banding is so aggressive that you never get that far in front to be like, all right, I'm gonna just be a smartass and do a reverse here and there, because in Mario Kart, if you're playing like CPUs and you are pretty good at the game, you can get away with like doing a cheeky little I'm going to reverse over and be a smartass. But in this game, I didn't see any opportunity to sort of try and pull that off. Yeah. So I was trying to do like a maneuver where I do like a drift, and I drift like right around, then like instantly reverse back.
Lock it in reverse, yeah.
Yeah, but I couldn't pull it off. So I'm not quite sure how to do that one, but I definitely recommend this game if you're after an arcade racer. I'm looking forward to maybe having a few friends over when it comes to like sometime like New Year's type of thing and picking up a couple of controllers and being able to play 2-player, because it really was just like a fantastic a version of like these arcade races. There's a mode called Cops and Robbers where you're either playing as a cop or a robber and you're trying to take down like the other team. And I didn't find that one as fun. I just found myself like blowing up it all the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that one too much, but the racing is really good. Like it's you accelerate with the right trigger, and like it's like a standard racing controls. And the drifting is really satisfying. When you drift, you build up your NOS boost pretty much, and you press the B button to activate that, and just found it really satisfying.
Yeah.
So it's $30 on the eShop. It's free on Xbox Game Pass, so check it out if you're interested. I reckon it's a fantastic title to put in your wish list if it goes on sale on Switch. And if you have access to PC or something, obviously it's free with a $10 subscription.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And to finish off on some games we've been playing, Bryce, you've been playing a bit of Call of Duty?
I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's not bad.
Oh, well, that's good.
I think something that a lot of people aren't really taking with a grain of salt is that this year COD has fallen on an odd cycle again. So the news is pretty straightforward. There was 3 Call of Duty developers, and they would cycle so that each team would have 3 years to develop a game. This time around, that was not the case. And Sledgehammer had been removed from their lineup, so they wanted Treyarch to force out their next Call of Duty. So they'd been working hammer and tong to get the next one out, and in comes Black Ops Cold War. So it's sort of a little lacking in content at the moment in terms of like multiplayer maps, and there's only one zombies map, which is sort of like, that's a little bit disappointing considering most games from Treyarch have been coming with, at least 12 maps with 3 zombies maps sort of thing. So it does feel a little bit lacking in content. However, the way the COD model works these days is there's no season pass. So you actually receive all the content for free, and then they just make money off Battle Pass these days. So in the future anyway, you're going to get that content. So it's not too much of a problem. I know that a lot of people have a problem with the current matchmaking system, and it's seeming very blatant. It's a skill-based matchmaking system, but it's like sort of modified to some degree. It's really hard to explain. There's like whole things on the internet about it or whatever, but if you're just looking to shoot people, it really doesn't matter. I'll be honest. But it's what the internet's mostly blowing up about at the moment. So the multiplayer is sort of, it's relatively bare bones, which I can't say is entirely bad because COD for a while has been kind of a complicated affair, and has changed drastically with each release ever since Black Ops. But I think it's okay for where it's at now. It's not the strongest COD multiplayer, but it's also not unenjoyable. It's definitely fun. It's definitely fun when it's working out for you. The campaign, I've only played 2 missions of because unfortunately they suffered a problem that Modern Warfare also had, which was that for some people, just for some reason, it will make you re-download the whole game again for a simple hotfix. Really disappointing that I had to do that. So I cut the campaign out of my installation because right now I don't really care. I know that it's really good and it's a sequel to one of my favorite COD campaigns ever, but I can pass on it for now and I can wait until my Series X turns up. So I can't say much about the campaign other than it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then zombies is probably the best thing that they've done so far. They've put like more of a progression system in zombies that allows you to get more powerful as you play more and more, which definitely helps zombies' monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. Now you're doing similar things over and over again, but getting more powerful doing it, so you actually feel like you're progressing. which is fantastic. The map is like a reimagining of the first ever Zombies map with the options to like go outside of the area and go underneath into like a secret base thing where, you know, the Nazis had been hiding experimentations and all this stuff. And it's overall, it's really fun. And I definitely feel like it's a good step up for Zombies, and that we're sort of moving away from the monotonous jump into Zombies, find the Pack-a-Punch and do the Easter egg. And that's, you know, something that's been a real problem with Zombies for a while, I suppose, and why people are sort of the only thing that was really entrapping people was doing the Easter eggs. But these days, yeah, it's not it's not so much like that. You can sort of progress in Zombies, and it will carry over to multiplayer. So any levels that you get, any weapon levels you get, that all counts for multiplayer experience as well. So you have the option of playing cooperative gameplay like Zombies, or you have the option of playing player versus player, and you're still progressing regardless of what you choose to play. So yeah, it's pretty good overall. I'm definitely, that's definitely the time I've sunk most of my hours into. And the problem is I'm waiting for my Series X to come so I can play it on that rather than my one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't played Call of Duty in a couple of years now. I think the last one I really got into was Advanced Warfare. So that might have been 3 or 4 years ago at this point, and just played through the campaign. So I'm actually at the point now where I'm actually quite keen to play through another campaign, and over the summertime actually enjoy some multiplayer and stuff on my new consoles. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I know one person that's finished the campaign, and he said that it's pretty good, but doesn't want to discuss it with me until I've finished it. And I've said, well, I'll finish it when I get my Series X, because I'm not reinstalling it again if it's going to take, 40 gigabyte download. I'd rather just wait for my new console to come and install it there then. Yeah,
I'm sure it's just going to be like a roller coaster of explosions and big set pieces, which is cool.
Maybe, but it's carrying on from Black Ops 1, which Black Ops 1 has a lot of like mind play sort of thing. So, I've got high expectations for it. Everybody reckons it's probably the best one they've done in a while. So it's good.
Yeah, especially since the campaign's now done by Raven. So I'm just keen to see what a new take is on the campaign rather than, the other 3 studios which have been doing it the last few years.
Yeah.
All right, Bryce. Let's move on. Let's go into some news. Let's get through it. We got a ton of stuff to talk about today.
Smash through it real quick.
Woohoo! Yeah! Pika, pika! Is that all?
I fight for my friends.
Wahoo!
My body is still.
I fight for that.
Oh God!
Damn it!
You just ruined my transition into it.
I was I was going to say I fight for my friends, but for some reason my tongue tied just then. I was I was late.
Yeah, I was about to say, Bryce, you missed it. So you weren't actually meant to say it like that. No. I thought you were just being a dickhead.
No, my tongue tied.
I'm doing a podcast here. You don't just
my mouth is dry from the Coke. It doesn't wet my whistle; it dries it.
Everyone's going to think it's cocaine, like you've been trying to eat cocaine.
Yeah, I've been trying to eat cocaine, guys. It's like flour; it sticks to your throat,
Because a Coke is a nice quenching beverage.
Quenching? I wouldn't say it's quenching. You get that semblance of quench for like 30 seconds, and you're like, I feel the sugar.
See, I made a grave mistake. I'm sat down here. I'm like nestled in. But I left my Coke on the windowsill. So I've got to read all this. And I'm going to get parched. So anyway, stop wasting my time, Ross. Let's jump to the first story. So I got plenty of time. You're the one who's got to get away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I can keep you here as long as I want. But no. You're going to get in trouble.
Yes.
You got to go and pick up the kids, don't you?
I got to pick up the kids. Yeah. You're rude, boo.
Why can't they pick up themselves,
I mean, they can try, but I don't think that their arms are strong enough.
So the first story is from gamesindustry.biz, and the title is Nintendo orders cancellation of Smash Bros. Tournament over mod use. So the article reads, Nintendo has blocked an independent Super Smash Bros. Tournament due to the organizers' use of mods, and according to the platform holder, illegal copies of the game. The Big House is an annual US Smash Bros. Fan convention that's been running since 2011. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the 2020 event was set to take place online, running from December 4th to the 6th. The tournament was to focus on the Switch title Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and fan favorite GameCube outing Super Smash Bros. Melee. They later launched without online functionality, which means the tournament often have to rely on Dolphin, a GameCube and Wii emulator with fan-made modifications. One such mod is Slippy, which was released earlier this year and improves the online infrastructure in a way that makes it smooth enough for competitive matches. The Big House intended to use this, but Nintendo of America issued a cease and desist order to block the event. Quote, "We were informed we do not have permission to host or broadcast the event primarily due to the uses of Slippy," the team said in a statement via Twitter. "Sadly, all our competitions are affected. We are focused to comply with the order and cancel the Big House online for both Melee and Ultimate. Refund information will be sent shortly. We apologize to all those impacted," end quote. In a statement to Kotaku, a Nintendo spokesman said the company, quote, "appreciates the love and dedication for Smash Bros. Amongst the fighting game community," and highlighted that not only has it partnered with various tournaments, both online and offline, in the past, but will continue to do so in the future. In this instance, it was the use of the legally copied version of the game, as well as Slippy, that Nintendo took issue with. The spokesman claims Nintendo asked the tournament organizers to stop this. Quote, they refused, leaving Nintendo no choice but to step in and protect its intellectual property and brands, end quote. The statement concluded, Nintendo cannot condone or allow piracy of its intellectual property. So this had a bit of a stink in the Super Smash Bros. Community over the last week. A big tournament was brought to its knees by Nintendo's lawyers. We've got a lot of stories about Nintendo's lawyers getting busy and earning their cash. But yeah, this was a big one, Bryce. Bryce, what do you think of this one?
Look, I know a lot of people are upset about it, like really upset about it. At the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. And a lot of people are concerned for the one man behind it all because he quit his job to work on this modification and, run this and all that stuff. And you know what? That's cool and everything, but that's also not Nintendo's fault if he decided to do that. And I think a lot of people are sort of, jumping on that a bit. They're like, he quit his job out of the realization that he was doing a passion project, not something that he's legally allowed to make money off of, which I don't know what the refund statement is about, whether he was like...
Yeah, well, the refunds for, I guess, people's tickets and stuff for the event, because the event was cancelled.
Which would have covered some of his costs, which is technically earning money off of intellectual property that's not his. So there's problems in that as well. And look, the other thing is why can't they compensate people like this that put the love and passion into it? Which is an argument that I hear a lot as well. I'm aware of the Resident Evil, after a conversation with listener of the show, a friend of the show, Meta. I'm 100% aware that there are companies that do that, and they do support those people that share love for their games and such and such. But I do want to make mention that Nintendo, out of any other gaming property in the world, is probably the one that's most modded and messed with and such and so. So trying to treat every person that ever makes anything individually out of passion for Nintendo like they are a special case is not something that's going to happen ever, I'm afraid to say. If that were the case, the 80 plus completed Pokemon mods would have to be, the creators of them would have to be compensated. You've got, the 50 odd Mario 64 mods that were created, they'd have to be compensated. And then you've got all the Zelda mods, they'd have to be compensated. It's like at the end of the day, there's just a lot of modded versions of Nintendo stuff going around. And, Slippy is no different to any of those. It is a passion project. It is something that somebody worked really hard on. But if you start treating one person with special treatment out of all of these people that have developed something out of passion for Nintendo properties, you all of a sudden have to, treat them as all the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much like the maker of Slippy. It's just like the organisers and the people attending this tournament.
Well, that as well.
So it is actually kind of black and white, just like the different sides of this. Obviously, there's people who have had a shit year. Coronavirus has impacted everyone in different ways, but it's impacted everybody. People, especially in the US, who are very conscious about this, are stuck inside, not much else to do. There are the tools to make this work. Obviously, Nintendo doesn't have their own online version of Melee, and this mod allows them to do it safely from their own homes, not having to worry about going out and social distancing and bringing their own controllers and sanitizing. It's not going to happen in person.
No.
So there are the tools to make it work, and Nintendo's like they're putting a stop to it. And you can see from Nintendo's perspective, if they don't look after their IP, people are going to run away with it and make it into something else. And there's also a thing as well if you don't sort of actively look after your IP, you can lose it as well. So if it's something like Melee, you've got to sort of try and look after it since it is an old game.
I don't even think it's just entirely just that though. Like I agree with that entirely, but the other thing still relays back to that same point is that if you give one person special treatment, all of a sudden you have to give a whole bunch of other people special treatment. And look at all those games that have sort of been taken down, like AM2R or...
which was a good reason why they took that down, because they had their own version of it.
Or Pokemon Uranium and stuff like that. Like games that literally, they have to be taken down. Like that is just something that has to be done. Anything that sort of grows too out of hand, they catch aware of, they're going to take it down. Like Radical Red's probably the next thing that's going to get taken down. That's like everything I want in a Pokemon game is like difficulty, access to everything, all that. It looks awesome. And
it does.
I know a friend that's played that and he's like, oh yeah, it's awesome and I would love to play it, but at the same time, it's like I just know that it's going, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're like, yes, that is good, we would like to see more of that. They're kind of like, well, if we give that one person special treatment, we bring them into our studio and give them a job position or whatever. It's just like all these people are going to be like, but what about my project? And like you can't do it. I know that it is extremely disappointing, especially during this time that with coronavirus, obviously, that having something as good as Slippy to, do these sort of things is awesome. Like it is a real good bit of technical marvel engineering to make a 20-year-old game work on net play like that, to the level it was, because its net coding's super good. But if you give him that win and they just let him do it, then you're going to have those people from AM2R or, you're going to have those developers from Pokemon Uranium who have also had things sent against them go, well, why the fuck aren't we allowed to do it then?
The floodgates will be open.
Exactly.
To everyone,
and this is the problem, is that Nintendo does have so many people that are passionate about modifying and messing with their games. There's obviously like heaps of Super Mario 64 ROM hacks out there that are almost more popular in some sense to the original Mario 64 in terms of like the speedrunning community and stuff like that. And it's you just can't.
Yeah, and like for Nintendo's credit, they did say, hey, you can't use it. And the big house, the organization, refused. And like in their quote here, like Nintendo says, like they refused, leaving Nintendo no choice but to step in and protect its intellectual property and brands.
That's right.
So,
and they shut down their Ultimate tournament as well, but they did that out of a hissy fit more than anything.
Like they could have just said, okay,
we'll just do the Ultimate tournament.
Yeah, it was as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
I know Melee is probably more
sought after
in that community, but you can't do an official paid ticketed event for a mod of their game. It is a shame from that perspective, but
yeah, absolutely,
it is what it is.
Don't get me wrong, I love fan projects and I think they're awesome, but at the end of the day, that is what it comes down to. One, they were selling tickets for an event that is of a Nintendo property that they obviously didn't have permission for, using a modification that they obviously didn't have permission for, and then they refused Nintendo's dispute. and then said, well, if we're not allowed to play Melee, we're not playing Ultimate to promote that. And it's just like, okay, then don't.
Yeah.
It's like, then, at the end of the day, I get it. It is a 20-year-old game, and a lot of people want to see it be freed and sort of played the way it is. And unfortunately, it is just a case of the time in where coronavirus is the problem, that they can't just go and organize an actual physical event, and that sucks. But in terms of Nintendo doing this as an actual problem, it has been going on for years. It is because they are not allowed to give people special treatment, because if they do, then all of a sudden the community is going to crack up about that anyway. So they're at a loss here. No matter what you do, they are going to get people who complain.
Yeah. If you want to monetize something, whether it be an event or a game or whatever it may be, just make sure it's your own IP or it's legal to do it.
Well, that's
right.
right.
I think that's the thing to say. Anyway, we'll move on to another gamesindustry.biz article, and this one is Nintendo suing yet another Switch hack reseller. So the article reads, Nintendo has taken legal action against another reseller of products that enable Switch owners to play pirated games. Its target this time is Amazon seller Lee Hogan, Minhee. Yeah, I'm going to assume that's right.
Names.
Yes, especially maybe Hong Kong names, which it reports has been selling a circumvention device known as the RGM loader that enables people to jailbreak the Switch. This allows them to load custom firmware and homebrew software, but it also opens up the console to pirated games. According to court documents obtained and shared by Polygon, the reseller's unlawful conduct is causing and will continue to cause Nintendo significant financial harm. Internally, Nintendo issued a DMCA takedown notice to the seller demanding the Amazon listing be removed. The seller responded with a counterclaim, which compelled Amazon to relist the product until Nintendo filed another lawsuit. That lawsuit was filed in Seattle earlier this week, when Nintendo is accusing Minhee of 2 counts of trafficking devices that violate US law and 1 for abuse of DMCA counter notification. In the filing, the platform holder said video game piracy was a serious worsening international problem, and this suit is the latest effort from Nintendo to fight it. Nintendo filed 2 lawsuits against resellers who sold products from the hacking group Team Executor earlier this year. It has since been granted a permanent interjunction with one of these cases and secured a victory in the other, receiving a $2 million settlement. 2 leaders of Executor were arrested last month, each charged with 11 felony counts. While Executor was not specifically mentioned in the case against Minhee, Nintendo does observe that the RCM loader can be used to introduce the SXOS software, an Executor hack, to the Switch. Many copies of the SXOS software and similar unauthorized custom firmware remain in the marketplace because of entities like Defendant, who continue to traffic and devices like the MCM loader. The file reads, Nintendo is seeking damages of $2.5 million per infringement by Minhee, and as the destruction as a destruction of all its products that will enable people to circumvent the Switch's anti-piracy measures. So I guess this is you can't really argue against this one.
No.
It's hacking the Switch, allowing piracy, and custom firmware to be loaded onto the thing.
That's right. Yeah, you can't do anything about that. Like, no matter what way they are, they lose money off that. Definitely.
And this was something I guess Nintendo was worried about in the first year of the Switch because of the sort of exploit you were able to do just by putting like a pin in and reloading it and being able to quite easily hack into it without any other tools, really.
That's right. Yeah.
So now there's actually like devices out there which you're allowed to homebrew your stuff. But if you want to continue to see these games coming out, you gotta support them with your own money.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't just pirate everything and get the Nintendo game of your dreams, because they'll say, well, no one bought Legend of Zelda because everyone pirated it, so we can't fund the next one.
And that's true for literally any other IP on the planet too.
Yeah.
You know, you got to support the things you love.
Yeah, an F-Zero game finally comes out and everyone pirates it, you know?
Yeah, then
It'll be devastating.
exactly.
So this is one. So we just read a story about it's very fair that Nintendo was going against it, but this one not so much. So as a trend with the last two stories, this is from GameIndustry.biz. The title is Nintendo faces yet another Joy-Con drift lawsuit. And the article reads, a new class action lawsuit has been filed against Nintendo of America regarding the Switch's Joy-Con drift. The lawsuit was filed in a Seattle court, Polygon reported, and claims that the Switch is defective due to the Joy-Con controllers registering movement without the user command. This defect significantly interferes with the gameplay, and this compromises the Switch and the Joy-Con's controllers' core functionality. The lawsuit read. In the plentiful commissioned by an assessment of a technical expert who noted that the cause of the drift is extensive wear on the pad surface of the Joy-Con's interior. As the steel brush inside of the Joy-Con move back and forth, they rub away at the carbon material that makes up the pad, which charges its electrical resistance and leads the drift phenomenon, the expert noted. The difference in the surface hardness between the steel brush and the carbon pad results in excessive wear that collects on steel brush tips. This transferred debris accelerates the wear of the pad. The wear of the carbon, known as soft material, by the steel brushes, known as hard material, causes the Joy-Cons or the joysticks to fail. This analysis, in line with the other French consumers organisation UFCQ, Corsair, which also filed a lawsuit against Nintendo back in September. Back then, the organisation noted that the drift was caused by a premature wear and tear of the electronic circuits, as well as air tightness defect, which means fragments can easily get inside the Joy-Con. The new lawsuit pointed out that Nintendo is aware of the defect as it's gathered international scrutiny, as well as ongoing investigations, including the UFCQ Corsair, but also from other customer advocacy groups in Belgium and Switzerland. Notwithstanding its knowledge of the defect, Nintendo has failed to disclose this material information to consumers and roughly refuses to repair the Joy-Cons without charge when the drift defect manifests. So a big one there, Bryce. It continues. A lot of people have been affected by the Joy-Con drift.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's fighting it, which is interesting. They've got a lot of evidence against them, but we'll see how it finally goes.
Like, it's not going to happen anyway. You know, I don't think Nintendo will win that one. I think it's been going on for so long now that they really just need to suck it up and do something about it. As somebody that's only owned 2 pairs of Joy-Cons, I'm on my second one now. My first one still ain't dead. I don't personally have a problem, and I've played pretty excessively in handheld mode, so I don't entirely get the problem personally. But if it's going with other people, and I'm just lucky, then you know, good on me, I suppose.
Yeah, we seem like the lucky ones. We haven't actually had drift. I thought I had it, but it was just my Pro Controller in my backpack.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I'm like, oh no, I've got drift. I'm like, oh no, it's just my Pro Controller automatically synced up, and yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so here we go, Bryce. Another one from GamesIndustry.biz. Nintendo publishes Animal Crossing guidelines for businesses. So the article reads, Nintendo published guidelines for businesses and organizations using Animal Crossing New Horizons as a platform. According to these guidelines, companies using the game are allowed to share custom designs with other players, invite them to their island, and share their dream address, which allows players to visit others without having to use the in-game airport. Businesses can also upload screenshots of the game footage to family-friendly websites, Nintendo said, as well as social networks. However, Nintendo warned companies about taking part in activities that go beyond the game's rating of PEGI 3, which here is it G or PG here in Australia?
G.
Is it G? Mm-hmm. Big old G. It's for everyone. So, quote, please refrain from using the game inappropriately or creating any content within the game that would be considered vulgar, discriminatory, or offensive, the guidelines read. Interestingly, Nintendo has asked organizations to refrain from bringing politics into the game. US President-elect Joe Biden and its campaign team created yard signs in Animal Crossing in September ahead of the presidential election and launched our own island in October. Under Nintendo's new rules, this type of content will no longer be allowed. Nintendo also asked companies to not use Animal Crossing as a marketing platform that directs people to activities or campaigns outside the game. That includes directing people to a sales page, distributing coupons, sweepstakes, giveaways, requiring customers to follow social network accounts, gathering customers' information, and other invitational activities. Since Animal Crossing New Horizons' launch in March, various companies in and outside of the industry have used the game as a way to promote their own product, event, or even job positions at their company. According to the new rules, these would be no longer allowed. Finally, Nintendo asked companies not to seek financial benefit from the game or share false information about it or deceive others, for instance, pretending that they're officially associated with the platform holder. Companies not respecting these guidelines may be prohibited to access the game in the future, Nintendo said. It added that it may be revisiting those rules down the line as the community evolves. For more information about the monetization of content using footage from Animal Crossing, Nintendo invited users to read the guidelines for the video game image and sharing platforms. So bang. Another one, which is it's a bit of a shame because Animal Crossing's just been a gigantic game this year, mainly because of its social interactivity, people being able to catch up with one another, make cool islands, share with people. You've seen like a lot of like, companies embracing it, whether it is like Domino's or just, silly brands doing silly things in the game. It's just been really heartwarming to see. And even with Joe Biden's team sort of taking on the game in their marketing for the campaign, it was actually cool to see that, something that big and that serious sort of embrace a video game as something they see viable to reach, their audience of potential voters.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big shame that Nintendo's sort of rolling back and they're pretty much making the game just the game. Like it's just like, all right, you're only allowed to visit each other and do like the advertised things and not actually let the platform just evolve by itself and have the community take it where they want it to.
I do think to some degree that it's understandable, I guess. Like at the end of the day, with any social media platform, you have to have your rules and regulations. Yeah. And this is becoming big enough that it is becoming its own social media platform. Yeah. So when it comes to advertisers, I think it's completely fair and balanced to have that rule set. Yeah. I guess.
When it's like the whole thing, like they literally say, keep politics out of our game. It's like, all right, guys.
Now, that being said, I'm waiting for the next Donald Trump tweet. It's like, Animal Crossing voters stole the election. God damn.
Oh, no.
Go on, Trumpy.
Yeah, Trumpy. He'll be gone soon. And the last one, Bryce, before we can stop talking about Nintendo's goddamn lawyers. They're busy boys over at Nintendo. So this was one which is...
this is just stupid.
Yeah, this is stupid. So this one's actually from Nintendo Enthusiast, Bryce. And the title is Nintendo is banning Twitch streamers for playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And the article reads, it is now official. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is now available across the globe on Nintendo Switch. However, yesterday it brought an all-new calamity in the form of the ban hammer from Nintendo. Multiple streamers on Twitch took to Twitter to inform their audience that Nintendo had banned them from the popular streaming platform over Age of Calamity. Nintendo has claimed that this was because of copyright infringement and or gameplay from an unreleased video game. This is particularly odd, considering that the game was available in a variety of countries, including Australia, Japan, and all of Europe. Fortunately, the bans are temporarily lasting 48 hours. from when the ban was imposed. Nintendo is known to be quite strict with content creators over the use of its properties. This isn't the first time that this has happened, and these Age of Calamity bans are only the latest episode. Two of the affected streamers are quite large within the Nintendo community. Linkus7 is a well-known influencer in the Zelda community, holding the world record for a variety of speedruns in The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Other streamer Reversal is also a quite well-known character who dabbles in Nintendo content creation, primarily in the Pokemon series. So this was weird because I first saw this with Reversal. He said on Twitter that he's been banned for playing Age of Calamity. And what it pretty much breaks down to is Nintendo America said, hey,
it's not out in America yet.
That game's not out yet, but due to how the world works and how the sun revolves around the earth, we are ahead of America as far as the time zones go. So
by about a full 12 hours.
Yeah. So a lot of content creation people, content creators, they have whether it's an Australian, a European, or a New Zealand account, so they can access games the first in the world because of New Zealand. Actually, everything launches there first just because of where they are in the time zones. So content creators that make a living out of making content about brand new games, they'll automatically just go to their account and unlock the game straight away from one of those accounts. So Reversal, in his instance, he logged into his European account. He started playing the game early. Nintendo America said, oh wait, the game's not out yet, and banned him, along with multiple other people. He put a video up on YouTube, and he showed basically a Twitch account that shows Twitch bans and just like posts them automatically. And there's been multiple Nintendo streamers being banned just because they're Nintendo streamers and they're
playing AOC.
Yeah, they're playing Age of Calamity as soon as it launched in Europe and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were getting banned by Nintendo America, and it's just like one of those things. Like guys, there are other countries in the world. Like seriously, like
someone, I think it was Critical, put it eloquently today when he was talking about Slippy and then the Age of Calamity stuff. He was like, it's like Nintendo has a clock on their wall in the office, and they're just like, they look at it and they're like, wait, that's not the time. And then they issue the bans, and like, it is, I get it. They are sort of like with Twitch being primarily sort of an American deal, and a lot of the audience being American and all that stuff. They're kind of like, yeah, we don't want spoilers on the platform. But really, like a 48-hour ban for streaming when technically it's perfectly legal for them to do it.
Yeah, he bought the game.
he bought the game. He got it when the console had preloaded it. So he didn't collect it from a store and then bring it home and played it early. He got it from the eShop. So it was officially legally his. He downloaded it and he played it.
Yeah. So it'll be one of those things like he's like Reversal, because he's the content creator I follow out of this lot. He reached out to Nintendo, but it'll be like a week or so when he actually gets a response from them. So the ban would have already been lifted well before he even gets a response. But I dare say it'll be one of those things when Nintendo actually get it, they'll be like, oh no, that's fine, sorry. Like it's probably just an automatic thing that kicked in. But he did mention that like he did the exact same thing for Super Smash Bros, Pokemon, like because Pokemon's the series he specializes in. But yeah, nothing happened for any of those games necessarily. But it was Age of Calamity especially that got this ban.
Maybe they're trying a new automated system.
It seems like it, yeah.
And the automated system is not working.
Obviously not. No.
Correctly.
So
like it doesn't check the time zone of where the streamer is or what have you. I think that's probably what the reason would be.
Because how does it work if I decided to stream on Twitch? Am I going to get banned from Nintendo Australia? Nintendo America?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's bullshit.
Yes.
Because some of these people that were banned were literally in Asia and like different countries. Yeah. Oh, that's ridiculous. So this is one of those things like Nintendo. You got to if it is an automated system, sort it out.
Yeah, please don't start issuing bans to Twitch streamers for no reason. Thanks.
Because these are especially with a game like Age of Calamity, you and I are very excited, very big Zelda fans, looking forward to the story. But a lot of people are like, you know what? Oh, this is a bit different. It's a Musou game, and that's not really my type of thing. So you'll get a lot of people actually looking up videos and exploring Twitch saying, what is this game all about? And these are the people that are going to sell this game to people that aren't quite sure.
Absolutely.
So don't do this, Nintendo.
No.
All right, so moving away from Nintendo's lawyers, Bryce, we're moving into some Capcom news. So this is from gamesindustry.biz, and the title is Capcom confirms it was a victim of a ransomware attack. The article reads, Capcom has confirmed today that it was the victim of a ransomware attack and has compromised employee personal information, financial data, and potentially other types of private data held by the company. In the release today, Capcom reveals that the incident took place on November 2nd, 2020, and was perpetrated by an organization called Rangar Locker, which was demanding ransom money in the attack on an encrypted data on the company's servers. So far, Capcom has verified that the personal information of the 9 concurrent former employees was compromised, as well as undisclosed sales reports and other financial information. In addition, the personal information of a maximum of approximately 350,000 business partners, former employees, and customers may have been compromised, along with the personal information of up to 14,000 current employees and related parties. And other unspecified confidential corporate information may have been compromised, though Capcom has yet to ascertain how many were impacted. Capcom noted that none of the compromised data, including credit card information. The Osaka police were alerted to the situation, and the company is now conducting an investigation to determine the full scope of what information was compromised, as well as taken a number of measures to tighten security around its servers going forward. Capcom concluded by confirming it was safe to connect to its games and websites, and that it would be contacting those who the company confirmed had their data compromised to inform them of the specifics of the situation. So there was obviously a very bad situation for Capcom having its data disclosed. So just I feel really bad for all the employees and everything. But I guess as podcasters and people that like talking about the industry itself, there were some things about the upcoming projects at Capcom that were also leaked in this information. So we'll go through them just quickly because there were some interesting tidbits in there. So this is there was a heap of stuff coming out, relating to the next Street Fighter, being Street Fighter 6 and all that, and that stuff obviously is in the works, and it could just be like a placeholder. It might not necessarily be like close to launch or be in active development, but a lot of that stuff came out. But the stuff relating to the Nintendo Switch included stuff like a new Ace Attorney game, which is coming to all platforms, but is also coming to Switch. Information on Monster Hunter Rise. It turned out that game was meant to be coming out this year, but it was delayed to March next year because of impacts on development because of coronavirus. Yep. And it also came out that Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2 is getting a PC port later in 2021, which is interesting because obviously that game's exclusive to Switch, but it's just going to be a timed exclusive on Switch. Whether it will come to like other PlayStation, Xbox consoles after 2021, it's unknown. And also, there's a mysterious project called Project Guillotine coming to Nintendo Switch in February and other platforms in May. So no idea what that is, but it's got a little bit of timed exclusivity on Switch, apparently, according to this leak, which we know nothing about. And if it's coming out February, well, that's interesting as well. It might be just like a free-to-play multiplayer game that they're going to drop just randomly, kind of similar to what they, EA done with Apex Legends and stuff like that. Because it's not... Because otherwise it doesn't make much sense just to drop it that quickly.
No, it doesn't. No. Yeah.
So yeah, that was the Capcom news. Pretty quick to get through. And this is about the sales in Japan about the PS5 and how they stack against Nintendo Switch. So this is pulling from an article from Nintendo Enthusiast. And I'm just going to jump straight to the meat and potatoes of the article. So according to the latest data of Famitsu, PS5 sold a combined 118,000 units to the Switch's family, 116,000. So Switch only just got outsold by a couple of thousand units on the first week, which is pretty impressive, but keep in mind this is Japan. That breaks down to 103,000 standard PS5 consoles and 14,000 of the digital edition. Not a bad start for the new era of PlayStation. However, it's important to note that this is a brand new console mashed up against one of its nearing its 4th birthday. Switch sold 329,000 units during its Japanese debut in 2017, so Sony has its work cut out. Japan has been trending away from favouring home consoles for many years, with handhelds and mobile devices dominating in their stead. The portable nature of the Switch is a major key to its success in Japan. That said, the fact of the PS5 eclipse 100,000 with such hefty price tag is still impressive. So, just interesting to bring up the sales figures. Bryce is laying on the bed. We're recording a podcast now. I like it.
It was getting a bit sore on the floor there.
I'm a bit sore on the floor. My back's getting a bit sore here too, but I'm locked in.
For a little bit longer.
So, yeah. It's like I said, it's not a surprise. The Switch is made for Japanese audiences, with the PS5, just from the sheer size of the thing, it's made for US consumers and European and the Western audience primarily. Yeah. And PlayStation has been moving to that sort of audience over the course of the PS4, so it's not surprising in the least.
No.
So, yeah. Moving on, another article from Nintendo Enthusiasts. Switch sales contribute to record gaming sales revenue for NVIDIA. So the article reads, you've probably heard a thing or two about how well Nintendo Switch has been selling this year. A global pandemic has forced people inside, with many turning to gaming as an entertainment source. This trend is extremely beneficial to gaming hardware and software companies, with Nintendo reporting very positive physical results. However, it isn't just Nintendo benefiting from the Switch specifically. NVIDIA is making bank as well. NVIDIA is the manufacturer behind the internal chipset used for the Switch systems. Basically, a lot of NVIDIA tech powers the console. As a result, the incredibly high software sales from the Switch right now are certainly pleasing NVIDIA, as the manufacturer mentioned the Switch in a recent earnings call. Kolak Kress, CFO of NVIDIA, said, quote, we also have record gaming console revenues on strong demand for the Nintendo Switch. In a conference, end quote, in the conference in regards to how the platforms, the company spoke about how GeForce Now is cloud streaming service. However, the company doesn't have its hands anywhere near the major console pile. At present, rival company AMD manufactures the chipsets seen in all recent and upcoming PlayStation and Xbox systems. So, you would think then that NVIDIA would be keen to keep its partnership going with Nintendo. With Nintendo Switch Pro rumors still doing the rounds, we would expect to see NVIDIA chipset present in that device. In the call, the company said, stay tuned for more devices to come in the future. Sadly, no formal hints have been made towards the Switch Pro just yet. So, yeah. With everything going on with NVIDIA, and even that just that little bit of like, oh, stay tuned. I'm really hoping that the Switch Pro is next year, and we do get that upgrade, because I'm really waiting for it.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think we all want something that's a little bit more capable. I don't know what lengths they're going to have to go to make it what we want, though. I think that's the biggest concern. I don't know if they're going to have to make the hardware bigger than what it already is, or what have you. I think it's a big ask, sort of. Though it's been a couple of years now, and sort of technology's changing and developing and what have you. But for us to sort of reach what had come out in the developers call out, it was a couple of months ago now, when they said they wanted to be ready for 4K. I feel like there's going to be a bit of a size difference between the two, because I feel like the system is going to be needing a lot of internal cooling, more than it already has, considering how hot the console already gets when running something like Breath of the Wild for a few hours. I feel like trying to run it at higher resolutions, regardless whether it's docked or undocked, is probably going to require some more cooling in there. But yeah, it's pretty obvious that NVIDIA's done well, both in terms of themselves and for Nintendo. So I think it'd be pretty interesting to see what NVIDIA can sort of cook up to put in a Pro system.
I agree, very much so. It'd be interesting if NVIDIA partnered with Nintendo during the Wii U era, see how happy they would have been then. We've got all these chips to put in systems, but no one's buying them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oof.
It'd be funny if like one of the quotes was, well, now that we're there, people are interested in Nintendo systems, so it's all of us. It's the only reason people are buying it. That's how strong our brand is. And investors are like, oh, that's fantastic.
No, they're like, buy a Shield.
Yeah, buy a Shield. You can play Wii games on that. You can't on the Switch. Play Mario Galaxy on the Switch now, so there's that. So, Bryce, moving on. So, there's been a 1.1.0 update to Super Mario All-Stars that enables GameCube controller support in Mario Sunshine and activates an inverse camera controls. So I'm just going to read the dot points from Nintendo's press release here. So players can now invert the camera controls within all individual titles. Super Mario Sunshine now supports the GameCube controller, and players can now play this title using the same controllers found in the original GameCube release. The Nintendo GameCube controller for Super Mario Sunshine is now supported in TV-only mode. You'll need the GameCube controller adapter to use this controller with your Nintendo Switch system. The Nintendo Switch Lite system does not include this controller option. All button displays within Super Mario Sunshine will not reflect the GameCube controller. Other general fixtures have been applied to overall gameplay experiences of all three titles. So a lot of people are saying, well, since this game is limited release, only disappearing from all basically storefronts at the end of March, it's like, it's kind of weird that they're sort of updating it. So I guess off the bat, what do you think of them adding GameCube's controller support to this? And do you see them sort of separating these titles and still having them on the eShop because they are still supporting them?
It's kind of good because provided that the GameCube controllers work how they're intended, which I hope, is a thing. It's good for people who want to play it in its original form, especially with how flood works and how water pressure works with the analog triggers. It's obviously, pretty important to the game itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're out of luck if you've got a light. Shit happens, I guess.
Yeah, because you can't plug it in. It's USB-A.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not USB-C. There are adapters out there that you probably can buy, like third-party controllers, that if you really want to play a GameCube controller on your Switch Lite, you'll be able to get a USB-C to USB-A converter, and you will be able to use it if you look into it and get the right product.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there are ways to use wide, like there's Power A controllers that can't be used out of docked mode, but you can get adapters and that to make them work. So there is that option. If you really want that, I don't see why you would want that if you've got a Switch Lite, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So moving on, Bryce, another one from Nintendo Enthusiast. So this is an interesting one. This is actually pretty cool. So Super Mario Bros. 3 sealed first run copy sells for 1,056 million. Oh, not million. 156,000. I don't know why I said million at the end of that. That would be an impressive feat for the game. So it sold that at auction. So the article reads, it turns out that the sealed copies of the old classic video games have become a new Auction Comics 1 and Amazing Fantasy 15 of the collector's world. To further amplifies this point, a sealed first-run copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 for NES has sold for 1,056. 156,000. I don't know what I'm getting there at Heritage Auction. An absolute wild amount of money. What makes the first run of Super Mario Bros. 3 especially noteworthy from a collective perspective is apparently just the placement of the logo. Bros appears flush among the left side of the box on this version, but its placement was changed in a subsequent runs so that it was no longer covering Mario's glove. It really does look better the new way. Heritage Auctions claims it was not terrifically easy to find this version of the game, let alone a sealed copy with a WATA 9.1 A+ grading. The first run of the Super Mario Bros. 3 gained 20 bids on the road to 156,000, and the auction had opened up with a starting bid of $62,500. It's pretty impressive that this auction earned so much, where a prototype copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 sold for only $31,000 back in September. In any case, this is far from the most expensive piece of gaming memorabilia, as with coverage involving heritage auctions. The Nintendo PlayStation sold for $360,000 back in March. So yeah, interesting that there's just this one difference that you can see that it's a first run copy where the Bros is just on the left side instead of in the middle where we typically know it to be.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool little story that, if you won the lottery, Bryce, we talked about winning the lottery last week, but as a big Nintendo fan, would this be something you would be like, yeah, I'll buy that and put it in my bedroom?
No, the first thing I'd do if I was, winning the lottery and had the option to spend that money would be literally just buying a whole bunch of old consoles and old games, and then just building a whole shelf.
Yeah, because think about it, $156,000 in American. So think about the type of house that would buy you in our small hometown, because the housing market is really cheap in rural Australia at the moment where we are. So you can buy a very nice house that will happily house, your 2 kids.
And if you get a loan on top of that, you'd be paying pretty cheaply on the loan as well, and get something even more extravagant out of it.
Yeah. So I'll be quite happy just to download a copy of Mario Bros. 3 with my online subscription and keep the money for myself. But it's cool that collectors out there are keeping these little tidbits of history alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because before this story, I didn't know there was a first run copy with little differences.
No, neither did I. All
right, so the next one, Bryce. This is I've pulled this from Vooks.net. And Animal Crossing New Horizons Island app and Resident Transfer app are now finally available. So this is something we've been talking about Animal Crossing New Horizons for a fair while now. And it's just annoying that you can't move your save back and forth and what have you, and that it doesn't support cloud save data. So now it finally does. And the article on Vooks reads, at long last, Nintendo has released a mechanism to move your Animal Crossing New Horizons island from one Switch to another. You can also move out one resident to a new island or an existing island, something we weren't expecting. Nintendo added an island backup feature a number of months ago, and while this did back up your island into the cloud, it could only be received by phoning Nintendo support after you had lost or had your Switch stolen. Not ideal. This now means there are 3 ways to move your island and its residents around. The first 2 are the new ones. So you've got your entire island transfer. This moves your entire island to a new console. You must have both your new and old consoles to do this. When you transfer, the island will no longer be playable on the old one. And you can move just a single resident. So with the single resident move feature, this will move the resident off your island to a new or existing New Horizons island. On another console. If you want to kick off your little brother off your island, this is how you do it. And there's the island backup and restore. This is an existing method of the island backup, and you should have this one just in case. This means you could restore your island to a new system should yours be lost or stolen. So we finally got some updates there. Still not ideal. I'd rather it just support the cloud functionality
Yeah, me too.
Like majority of other games do. Not everyone does. The big one I'm still frustrated by is Pokemon, but you can understand that people will be cloning their Pokemon left and right. The exploits that are in that game, as there is, people are utilizing them. So if you give them that, it'll be even worse. But
the market's more sinister these days too, because people could then just clone legitimate copies of 6 OV Pokemon and sell them online, which has been a thing for a while.
Yeah. And just going off the Animal Crossing news as well, so there's been a new update and there's been a new video by Nintendo that sort of outlines a brand new update. So there's Turkey Day and Toy Day, along with new emotes, items, things to do during those holidays. Not going to go through everything here, but Bryce, does these new holiday events make you want to turn on the game again and get back into things?
Not particularly. I've had my time with it, I think. I've played well over 100 hours. And that was mostly within the first few months. And to be honest, I'm at the point where I'm like, you know how you get with Animal Crossing or Pokemon games or what have you, where you're just like, I kind of just want to start again now. But I know that'd be dumb to do, so I just don't.
It takes a long time to get things moving in that game.
Yeah, it does.
Honestly, Toy Day with like the Christmas aesthetic and everything, that that will get me to turn on the game again come December 1st. I just love the... It's kind of weird here because this is the first Animal Crossing game where we get to choose that we're in the Southern Hemisphere. And without that snow aesthetic, it's going to be weird. I know that's what our everyday life is, where we don't have snow and, you know, the bright lights and the dark clouds and all that. We have 40-degree days. Wearing like a Christmas hat you're just inviting sweat to your head.
Yeah.
But it is weird without that aesthetic. So I'll be interested to see what it's like. But I love Christmas, like just the whole aesthetic of Christmas trees, lights, and the Christmas hat. So I reckon I will turn it on to make sure I get those items. But Turkey Day is an Australian. Nah, that's not a thing we do. It's a thing I wish we did because another holiday on the lead up to the holidays and excuse to eat. That sounds pretty good in my books, but it's something we don't do. So
That's right. Yeah.
and so this is the last story before we wrap things up, Bryce. So this is from Vooks.net as well, and this is some brand new Lego sets on the way. So the article reads, Lego has announced a raft of new Super Mario Bros. Sets, expansions, character packs, and power-up suits. The latest new set is called the Maker Set. This essentially is a free-for-all design-wise, but it comes with a new contraption called the Customization Machine. This machine lets you program Mario to react to custom blocks. There's also a new yellow pipe that gives more rewards, but takes time off Mario. Throw in some new enemy types, and this one just lets you make whatever you want. There's also a number of new expansion sets, including Chain Chomp Jungle Encounter expansion set, Piranha Plant Puzzling Challenge expansion set, and the Wiggler's Poison Swamp expansion set. All of these new sets contain a poison block, which is new to the Mario Lego world. There's also a new Penguin and Tanuki suit for Mario, as well as new series of blind bags, including Spiny Cheep, Ninja, Parachute Goomba, Fly Guy, Parabeetle, Thwimp, and others. All these sets will be released next year on January 1st and have a local pricing, and will have local pricing details once Lego send them over. So cool stuff for anyone who's collecting some of the Lego stuff. I know some people in our community in their Discord have bought some of the Mario stuff. So if you're in for keeping up with all the sets, ready your wallets because there are a few more sets coming up. Personally, not that much into Lego, and I don't want to spend that much money on the Lego. So even Mario hasn't got me to buy it.
I kind of just want that NES. I think that's like the only thing that I'm like, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, the NES is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing with like Peach's Castle would get me to buy it. The NES is like, oh, I want that, but not quite. These like more play sets where it's like, you know, the type of sets I had as a kid where I'm actually physically playing. Like not so much. It's not so much of a display piece. It is for your kids to play around on the floor and beep and bop on the enemies and stuff.
Yeah.
So just before we wrap the news up, Bryce, these are just some things I want to go over. So just some real tidbits before we wrap things up. So Nintendo Australia's eBay store is shutting down on the 30th of November. So if you are a frequent buyer on Nintendo's eBay store, it is shutting down soon here in Australia.
Better have a look.
You better have a look, yes. Doom Eternal on Switch is now a digital-only game. People were being... They were a bit concerned because people's pre-orders were getting cancelled. So a lot of people think that maybe the game was being cancelled, but apparently it is coming soon, but it is now digital only, which you can imagine how big that game's going to be. So I think they just said, you know what, bugger it. Yeah. This is a little bit of a frustrating one, but it won't affect you, Bryce. But David Beckham isn't going to be included in the Switch version
of
FIFA 21. And I just wrote here in brackets because EA. We know that the FIFA versions are just ports of like the very first one that came out and nothing else is being put on there. It is frustrating for actual football fans who want to see maybe their favourite football player in the game. But we've known for a few years that that version on Switch is no longer the one you should be buying, which is frustrating. Like I said, EA. And this is just a bit of a PSA for those who want a good deal. So this is for Aussie listeners. So Coles we'll be having 15% off eShop codes from the 25th of November to December 1st. So if you want to save some money, go to Coles, buy some gift cards, load them up to the eShop. And if you pair them with, the vouchers, you'll be saving a pretty good amount of money. You'll be able to get first-party Nintendo games that are typically $80 for under $60, about $57. You'll be able to get Nintendo games if you pair those two deals together.
Yeah.
So
Not
get on
bad.
that. I quite often get on like the Big W deals or whatever. So get the Coles if that's your supermarket of choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Bryce, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We've got a bit of a new segment here. I know you want to get away, so we're just introducing a brand new segment just for you, mate.
Just doing it real quick.
Real quick, Bryce. Well, we still got a bit to go yet, mate, so hold on. You sweating over there?
Nah. I'm good.
Oh, good. So we're calling this segment the House of Mario's Red Coin Recommendations, and it's us going through some of the eShop games that came out in the last week and also some of the good deals that are on, because we've been sort of trialing it over the course of this year, just pulling up games that we're interested in, whether it's because we're generally interested in them or because they just look a bit silly. Like Bryce brought up last year, but that Santa game for $12.
Yeah, in that last episode, yeah.
Which looked like a mobile game, which apparently isn't on mobile, just physically on PlayStation 4. So, Bryce, let's see what the jingle... We're going to try the jingle for the first time.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, here we go, mate. All right, so this is the House of Mario. It's funny when we're actually like live doing it. So, Bryce, did you actually end up getting any, or they're just coming from me?
I think they're just coming from you.
Well, that's all right.
At the time, I was sorting out the kids, and you were like, "Pick one." I'm like, oh shit. I'm trying to get my shit together. Yeah, I didn't have the time.
That's okay, mate. So I've got three here. So the first one is an obvious one. It's a first-party Nintendo game. It's the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And get on it. We already know about it. If you're a big Nintendo fan, big Zelda fan, you might have already got it or been considering it. You probably played a lot more than me, because I haven't played any yet. The next one is Sakura of Rice and Ruin, and this is one I've been not looking forward to, but keeping my eye on for. What was it? It was based in a Nintendo Direct earlier this year. I'm like, wow, that looks really pretty. And since then, friends of the show, Ryan Betts and Paul James, they actually did a review cast over on the Pop Culturists for the Plays feed on their YouTube channel and podcast services, and they both said that it's one of their contenders for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Which is big from Ryan, because he's not into like anime-looking aesthetic games, and even similar for Paul. So basically, the synopsis for this game on the eShop is spoiled harvest goddess Sakura finds herself banished from the opulent celestial home of the island, overrun with demons. In this untamed wilderness, she must rediscover her birthright as the daughter of the warrior god and harvest goddess, goddess by weathering elements, fighting monsters, and captivating Rice, the source of her power. The rice is the source of her power, Bryce. How do you feel about that?
Oh, delicious.
Sometimes I feel like the rice is the source of my power
yeah,
too.
it definitely is for me too, mate.
I love fried rice.
Yeah.
I don't think they're having fried rice in this game. There's no air fryer or anything. But
just rice with anything, mate. You know, that's the thing, is rice goes with everything.
it is.
So it also goes with the source of your power.
Yeah, literally. What type of sauce would her power be? Like, you got to put sauce with the rice.
Katsudon curry, I guess. I don't know.
But by her side is the forbidding place in her guardian Tamara and a group of outcast humans. Together, these unlikely companions must join hands to tame both the soil and the demons of Honeseen Island. So this one looks cool. It's $60 on the Australian eShop. So this one, I've got really no time for games at the moment, so this is in my wish list, definitely. And the last one is Micetopia. So it's $8 on the eShop. It's currently 20% off for $6.39. And it's basically a Metroidvania game that has a really quite nice pixel art style. So it's obviously quite cheap at the moment, and yeah, it kind of just scratches my itch as far as aesthetics with the pixel art goes.
Yeah.
So The synopsis on the eShop is: welcome to the medieval magical kingdom of Micetopia, where mice live in a friendly country village. Unfortunately, as the story begins, forces of evil have taken away all the mice except for one elder remaining. Can you become the hero of Micetopia and save your villagers from the dark minions? So, if you're interested in saving 20% on that game, the sale ends on the 6th of December. So get on that. And that's our red coin recommendations for this week, Bryce.
Beautiful.
Have I sold you on any of those games?
I'm interested in Sakuna.
You're like, oh, I might get Hyrule Warriors. Yeah.
I had to buy it digitally. I'm a little bit depressed about it because I want it physically, but because of the lockdown, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But
oh, well, lockdown's over, Bryce.
it is now, but, you know, I knew we were going to be talking about it at least a little bit this week, and I'm kind of like, well, I can't not buy Age of Calamity. I'm like, I guess I'm just downloading it digitally then. So, yeah, here we are. Luckily, I've got the space on my Switch these days, so that's good.
Yeah, big SD card, download all those bad boys.
And 512 gigabyte SD card always feels nice in a Switch.
It does. Feels so good.
Oh.
Oh, it feels so good. I've got a 400 gig card and I had to delete some stuff to get Hyrule Warriors on it.
It's because you buy everything digitally.
Yeah, like a real man.
No, not like a real man at all.
Like a fake man. Okay.
You lose yourself a lot of money that way if you want to keep all your games downloaded at one time, because you have to buy multiple very expensive micro SD cards as well as the games. It's not very cost effective, is it?
Yeah, well, tell that to my Xbox where I bought a bloody $300 bloody expansion drive for it.
You know what? I can excuse that a little bit because you can actually just, you know, take it out of one Xbox, bring it into the lounge room, put it in the other Xbox, and you don't have to download it again.
It's convenient, it is.
It's very convenient. Yeah.
All right, Bryce, since you were complaining about staying here a bit longer, we've got to go into Reggie's rec room just to discuss one more thing, then we can let you go to pick up your kids.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear. So in the Reggie's rec room, Bryce, I think Reggie's feeling all right. We'll see what he's like.
Oh, God.
Hi, Nintendo.
Oh, thank God he's alive.
Reggie here.
Still here.
Thank you for your never-ending support, for giving me a mushroom kingdom full of incredible memories that I will never forget. Ever.
All right, Bryce. So this week in Reggie's rec room, I want to talk about the Game Award nominees. So earlier this week, the Game Award nominees were officially announced, and Nintendo, you know, it's been a quiet year for Nintendo, so they don't have, like, it's not a massive year for them like it was in 2017 where they just were in nearly every category.
No, yeah.
But they have managed to get 6 nominations across all the categories. So just going through some of the games and the categories they're in. So Pokemon Cafe Mix is in for Best Mobile Game. Animal Crossing New Horizons is in for Best Family Game. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit is in for Best Family Game. Paper Mario The Origami King is in for Best Family Game. Animal Crossing New Horizons is in for Best Multiplayer. And the big one, Animal Crossing New Horizons, is in for Game of the Year. So also for Game of the Year, and that's the topic we will discuss for this episode. So also going up for Game of the Year is Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2, and of course Animal Crossing New Horizons. So Nintendo does have
some pretty stiff competition.
Some very stiff competition. So let's. How do you feel about the Animal Crossing New Horizons chance? Obviously, compared to the other games in the list, it's just completely different as far as just like tone, aesthetic, gameplay. Like it's nothing like The Last of Us or Doom Eternal or like even Hades. Like Hades is a console exclusive on Nintendo Switch, so maybe you can sort of put it in the Nintendo camp at the moment, but you know it's only going to be a timed exclusive, so I wouldn't bet too much on that. But yeah, how do you feel about Animal Crossing being up for Game of the Year? Obviously, it's had a huge impact on what 2020 was for gaming.
Oh, it'll win off. Like I don't think it'll win, but if it does win, it'll win off of social construct alone.
Yep.
Like that's the only reason it's going to win. Like it is a very good improvement on Animal Crossing as a whole, but it is also, it's not breaking any huge grounds that we've never seen before either. It is really very much just like people pick this game up to play with friends, and in a time where coronavirus is a thing, it came out at the absolute perfect time to catch everyone's attention, which is, well, the reason it's there, I guess. I think its chances overall are pretty solid, simply because of the sheer amount that it's sold, if anything. I'm not sure how to feel about Doom Eternal. I'm not sure if Doom Eternal's going to push for the win this year, as much as it's a pretty good sequel. I don't think anybody's expecting Doom Eternal to win over maybe Ghost of Tsushima, which I feel also got a little bit of a criticism when it came out as well, but I feel like it's also probably one of the stronger games this year. And The Last of Us 2 I see being very lopsided, and I don't think it'll win.
Yeah, because just the whole fact that, like, obviously there's judges around the video game industry and they put this list together and then they leave it up to the public to vote. And just the fact that Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold 24 million copies and it's affected so many people positively this year, you can definitely see it just taking it away just because of that vote. Whether that audience is the type of audience that will be focusing on the Game Awards and voting, not quite sure. Because obviously a lot of people would have picked up, like, say, The Last of Us, Animal Crossing, like myself, like, picked up all of these games. And, like, whether they say, like, oh, well, I'm going to vote Animal Crossing for Game of the Year, it's to be seen. But I think just from how popular it is, that it definitely has a shot. But personally for me, like, I look at, say, Doom Eternal, like, I haven't played it, but you can just see in sort of how it sort of shaped the year of 2020, that it was like a fantastic first-person shooter. But, that's what it is. Like, it's nothing too much more. You look at, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake. It took a classic and made it into a completely new game, expanded it, like, beyond what anyone expected. And just, like, fantastic graphics, voice acting and everything. Like, it's just, like, a great game.
I think it's going to be a throwaway between that, Ghost of Tsushima, and Animal Crossing, I think.
Yeah. And, like, Ghost of Tsushima, like, it was very popular when it came out. And just with its recent DLC, basically adding multiplayer and raid mechanics and stuff into the game, a lot of people really enjoyed that, and that gave it a second kick just recently. Hades was also a game people really enjoyed. I don't see it getting enough votes, but personally, like, I played Hades. And I really enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it enough just to keep banging my head into the wall and redoing things again and again.
Yeah.
Like, I played it for like probably 3 hours, and I got to the point where I beat the first boss. I'm like, oh, thank God. I get past it, and I do like a really amazing run, and I get past it. When I get sent back, I'm like, oh no. If I'm back at the first boss, and I didn't have the setup that I really enjoyed when I got that really good run, but I lost to the first boss again, I'm like, you know what? Nah. I think, like, personally, out of, like, those types of games, I'd rather play Dead Cells, personally. But that's just personal touch.
Yep.
And The Last of Us Part 2, I feel like this was a super divisive game from a story point of view, but I fell into the camp where I really enjoyed the story. And just the other aspects of the game are just spot on, just from graphics, presentation, performance of all the characters. It's just really excellent. And even the gameplay, I really enjoyed the gameplay. So I think personally for me, I'd probably vote for The Last of Us Part 2. But keep in mind that comes from a point of view of not yet playing Ghost of Tsushima, because...
not playing through all of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Not playing for all of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, like, very limited. But yeah, I was going to play Ghost of Tsushima. I got that game ready for when I got my wisdom teeth out, but then it got cancelled another time.
Yeah.
So I had it ready to go, but yeah, I'm actually not too worried about it now, because with the PS5, there's actually a PS5 update to make it run better. So I'm like, that's all good then, doesn't matter. So yeah, interesting nevertheless. Good luck, Animal Crossing and the other Nintendo games in the categories. So if you want to check out the categories, you can go to thegameawards.com, check them all out. But yeah, only 6 nominees for Nintendo across all of the categories. So, Bryce, that's it. We can wrap the show up and we can get you home and
Beautiful.
wonderful stuff. So, everybody, thank you very much for listening to the House of Mario episode 169. If you enjoy the show, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your platform or your podcast platform of choice. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at IDRuby. You can follow the show at the House of Mario, and you can follow Bryce at IVRevan. You can join our Discord community via the invite in the show notes. And it will be a wonderful place for you to join our community and, be a part of the show. And thank you very much to our Patreon producers being Luke Levanide, Sam Hay, and DJ. Really appreciate you guys supporting us on Patreon and, helping out with just the costs of the podcast. So really, really appreciate it. And I can't say how much I appreciate it. Just really do. It means a lot. I think this podcast to Bryce and I just, it makes our week. So having people just really supporting it in that way, because I know how much of a commitment or what it is to your wallet, especially in a year like this where it's not so easy.
Absolutely.
So really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. And this week's Nintendo Jukebox is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity main theme remix by Silver Tom Media. You can follow them on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Twitter. And you can find all of those links in the show notes below to go and check out Silver Tom Media and check out all their stuff. I just found them on SoundCloud by typing in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and it came up. I'm like, oh, this is quite nice.
Nice.
Yeah. So, guys, until next week, the doors to the House of Mario are closed. Catch you later.
Sayonara.